Monkey? Of course it's gonna work. It's made by the master of horror, Stephen King. Of course, The Monkey works. Mostly. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Beyond the Gray Media. This is Josh here, checking in on you. Dude, up late. It is so late. It's technically Monday morning now. I started this kind of later in the night on Sunday, and I've just been kind of dinking around, kind of like working on it. And I think when we're talking about someone like Stephen King, that's what always drew me to Stephen King. He always kind of seemed to write about, folks that were just kind of getting middled. The blue collar guy, right? That fights with his family, argues with his boss, listens to rock and roll, rebels, drives a fast car, right? Kind of lives on the wild side a little bit dangerously. And growing up, I would always read Stephen King before I fell asleep. I was a Stephen King fanatic growing up, always have been, always will be. Now, anyway, it doesn't matter. Stephen King is the master of horror for a reason. And I think, more than his novels, I celebrate his short story collections. They're something special to me, man. Night Shift, Right Skeleton Crew, and of course, Everything's Eventual. I love his short stories. I think Quitters Inc., I think The Boogeyman, I think he's got some of the most badass short stories out there. And I think that's kind of what drew me to The Monkey in the first place. Obviously, I had to like this movie, like Guilty by Association, Monkey Shine, Seeing the Toy Monkey, Hear No Evil, that whole thing. There's something about the monkey toy and the way that Stephen wrote that story that I had no choice. I had to like this movie. I didn't have to love this movie, but I had to like it. Wherever you are, however you're doing, however you found me, I hope for just a minute we can take the edge off and let's talk about this Stephen King new film, The Monkey. Let's check it out. Before we get into this review, I am so excited, so pleased to announce that I have a brand new partnership with themovieroom.com. Themovieroom.com, you want a new 4K Blu-ray, new piece of physical media? Here's where you need to go right now and put in my code, BEYOND10, all one word, capital BEYOND 10, Beyond 10. Go to themovieroom.com right now for 10% off your order. Check out these new 4Ks, these new pieces of physical media, Blu-rays. You want that new Graveyard Shift? Boom, you got it. Type in my code BEYOND10 at checkout to save 10% off. The Movie Room's got all kinds of brand new 4Ks and Blu-rays from every different studio, every different genre, whatever you're looking for. They got a little bit of something for you. Check them out today. Right now, the world is abuzz with the new Osgood Perkins film, The Monkey, that hit theaters this weekend, and I think for good reason. This film has plenty of wacky, hardcore, gory horror to be had, and plenty of dark comedy to make this a hit for the masses. I can see this film having much more staying power, or legs, if you will, than last year's Long Legs, also by Perkins. It's cheap popcorn fare where you can literally take a Stephen King ride without the long character development, backstory, and how do we kill them all? Ultimately, that's what they're trying to ask here. How do we kill everybody? Well, just wind that key, baby. The Monkey spins a pretty straightforward tale from the Stephen King short story from the Skeleton Crew. Two twin brothers discover a toy monkey with its drum and their father's belongings and decide to tempt fate by turning the key. As the monkey goes through its cadence and the drum roll, when it reaches the end, someone dies. Sounds pretty simple, right? Well, really it is. It really is, and that's really where this movie frickin' works. No remorse, no regrets. The monkey maims and spills blood in super imaginative ways for the first 45 minutes of this story. You barely have time to even catch your breath from the gory, gooey imagery and the gut-busting laughs. The film, for the most part, works because Osgood brings the pain and the pleasure with his camera. The score, the setups, and the macabre punchlines all work. It's unique and it's kind of refreshing to wonder who's going to get it and how bad is this next one going to be. We're in on the fun. It's kind of like it's a unique gimmick and it works. It really does differ from films like The Shining or those giant epics like Misery or even Carrie. This takes a page from a smaller, light-hearted effort like Night Flyer, Graveyard Shift, or even Thinner. A true midnight movie, chock full of B-horror movie imagery, laughs, and easy to digest pacing until it didn't. And so what happened? My voice cracked. What happened to this film? Did somebody back out? Did he just totally, completely decide to change the dynamic of whatever was happening? This movie had such a strong and unique first half that when we're learning about this family and the origins of the history of the monkey, the twins, the mom, the school, the bullies, the deaths, the comedies, the music, the gore, the funerals, the priest, it was also bananas. I'm sorry for that. That's a bad joke. I guess that by the time this film decided to shift, I kind of started to become bored. Probably about an hour in, I was like, all right, is the gimmick over? Is that all we got? Is it just really going to be like this? This film is literally a tale of two halves. The first is the children before fast forwarding to the twins and their present day predicaments. For one, I don't really like Theo James. I didn't really like him in this film whatsoever. I felt like for some reason it was hacky, it was rushed as it shifted its tone and focus. I didn't buy him as a twin with the Dr. Evil style older brother who was after the cherished family toy. It became so stock and so paint by numbers, and I just lost all of the mojo and goodwill that had worked up in the first two acts. That doesn't mean that I didn't like this movie. No. I actually really like this movie. And I'm going to lay some of the blame on Theo James, but I didn't really find him interesting or believable as the bad deadbeat dad with major issues and the evil twin hiding out in his lair. There's some comedic elements to it, right? There's some things that happen in the last act, but for the most part, the dynamic between him and, well, really him and his son just seems so forced, dude. It seems so, like, poorly written. The only thing redeemable, I would say, is we got to make like eggs and scramble. That was pretty solid. That was a pretty good bit. It almost had like this studio magic to it, right? Where the cheesiness, where it was trying to do too many things, like that new abysmal Beetlejuice. It became tired. It became a little bit lazy, but it wasn't all bad. I think for the most part, 2/3 of this film, this monkey is solid. This monkey brings the gore. It brings the fun. It brings the lightheartedness. It just became something so familiar at the end, not even like a Final Destination familiar or a Scream familiar, where it's like breaking the third wall, where it's almost like letting us in on the joke. I just didn't buy the twins when they were older. I just thought that they were doing a horrible job. It felt rushed. It felt uninspired. Even with all that said, I'm saying that this is a 7, really, maybe even just like a 6 or a 6.5. I would find there somewhere in the middle with you. But I think that you should see this in theaters. I think it was a good time. Everybody in my audience in the theater was laughing. They were having the time of their life. People were like clapping. A dude spilled his beer in front of me. He was laughing. The gore on screen, the imaginative deaths, it is worth the price of admission. I just wish that it wouldn't have taken such a predictable kind of like stock, put all these things together and see what comes out, throw everything at the wall kind of ending. It just felt rushed, and I hated that dude from Halloween Ends. That dude was horrible in this movie. Can't stand him with this stupid little wit. Oh my God, dude, horrible. And there was a lot of like computer digital, gore and effects. So after a while, they do become a little bit cumbersome. But for the most part, I think as a film, this for the most part works. I think it's not as good as Black Coat's Daughter. It's going to be a little bit easier to digest than something like Longlegs, where people are like, oh, really? A supernatural occult horror film, when they probably wanted it to just be like a straightforward serial killer the whole time. The monkey, it's brainless. It's just bananas the whole time. And I think for the most part, people are going to like that.